It is so good to be back in the chair, Tony Katz. Guys, you were missed. How's everybody? We are going to get to the certification of the election. That's what we're waiting on right here. So what I've got is I got C-SPAN up and ready and all set to go. So this is where they'll show it. So radio show is starting. We'll get right to it. A little between the lines from Arturo Fuente for the show. Let's get to it, guys. Glad you're here. To certify or to not certify is the question. And we should be perfectly clear that with these Democrats, you don't know. It is January 6th, a day that will not live in infamy. January 6, 2001 was a riot, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't proud of it. I didn't enjoy any part of it. Better ways to get things done. An insurrection? Well, that's just pathetic and laughable. That is purposeful, willful ignorance right there. Unnecessary as the day is long to be stating and sharing. People should be embarrassed. Still, to this day, when they make that claim, that somehow what happened on January 6th is the worst thing to ever happen. No, it wasn't. It always struck me as despicable and gross and wholly indecent that businesses, black-owned and otherwise, burned in Minneapolis and burned in Seattle, and those people in D.C., they seemed unworried. Nancy Pelosi told me people are going to do what they do. She told you that as well. Yet when it came to January 6th, it was the most egregious thing to happen since the Civil War. It's not the case. And you know that. And lately they've been coming out and making these same claims. 5 police officers were killed, I tell you, on January 6th. That's not the case. That isn't what happened. And yet they will tell you this to tell you this, and then they'll go on MSNBC and they will make this kind of outrageous claim.
I want you to remember these 5 names. Brian Signey, Howard Littlegood, Gunther Hashida, Kyle DeFreytag, and Jeffrey Smith. These 5 officers died as a result of January 6th, and they died in the line of duty as a result of what Donald Trump and his allies, his supporters, did to us. So it doesn't matter how much or what way he pardons them. These people die in sacrifice and defending our democracy. And to have the president pardon them is an outrage and a desecration to their sacrifice.
No one died because of January 6th, and I don't care how many times Jonathan Capehart wants to put that on MSNBC. No one. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. That is not what took place, by the way, on Twittix there at Tony Katz, TonyKatz. Just follow me there and share there. I will pick it up. I'll grab it. I'll share it right here. I don't argue that bad things didn't happen. I don't argue that some people needed to go to jail. I argue that when people were invited into the Capitol, they did nothing wrong. And I argue, even if you think those people are despicable and terrible and awful, if they don't get due process as American citizens, pardon everybody. If they're being kept in solitary confinement for no reason whatsoever, other than this administration, the current Biden administration wants to punish them, pardon them immediately. We are either an American society or we are not. We either have a rule of law or we don't. And it has to apply all the way around. You don't get to treat people poorly and poke them with a stick just because they're your political enemy. That dog won't hunt. I wasn't always like this. I never, ever considered January 6th insurrection. I always said it was ridiculous. And then I looked at the madness of the politics, the grossness of Liz Cheney, Liz, hey, Tony Katz here. There's a reason you're never going to have a political career again. You did this to you. This is all your fault. You didn't have to go down this road. You could have had strength and conviction. You were the conservative that conservatives looked up to. Your voting record is fantastic. And yet you were broken by this. And then you accept a medal from Joe Biden, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You deserve not to have a career anymore. You shouldn't have a career anymore. You and Adam Kinzinger are not examples, are not beacons, are not the light in the darkness, but rather cowards who allowed themselves to be broken as opposed to staying in the party, standing up strong, and disagreeing where you thought it was necessary. That's all it takes. It's not that difficult to do, unless, of course, you're more interested in power base and television opportunities than you are in the actual governing. I'm glad she doesn't have a career anymore. We need people willing to stand up and people willing to disagree. And I think it's very okay to disagree with Donald Trump. I have no issue with it whatsoever. Siding with Nancy Pelosi in a political witch hunt in a made-for-TV committee, literally run by an ABC showrunner. The show, the whole thing designed for primetime TV to have a maximum effect to only one point of view with zero rebuttal. And you want to tell me that's the conservative methodology and you're proud of that, Liz Cheney? You deserve no career. And I'm glad that no career is coming your way. But this idea that all these people died on January 6th, when they don't ever talk about all the people who died across the country. In my beloved Indianapolis, 2 people were killed. No one says a word. In Chicago, in New York, in Minneapolis, in Seattle, in Portland, those lives don't matter. Those black lives don't matter. I guess I got to figure out what parlance you want to use, what phraseology you now want to engage, that maybe you'll pay attention. But in any case, I had no problem with the idea that some people may very well be charged with a crime. It did not bother me or affect me at all. If you broke the law, you broke the law. If you broke the rules, you broke the rules. And then you know what you learned? Maybe they didn't all just break the rules. Maybe the rules were very, very lax. This is odd and this is weird. And then you see how Americans were treated, are treated right now by this government, our government, the Biden administration. And I say to you, pardon them. Put an end to this madness. And that's what's going to come. And if some Capitol police officer, former Capitol police officer, is upset by it, I think he could be upset by it. If you're not upset by the way these people are being treated, whether they're being kept in solitary or kept from lawyers or kept from medical help or a myriad of things that would go against any way we would treat any illegal immigrant being kept in jail right now, goodbye. I got nothing for you, boo-boo. I got absolutely nothing for you. Today, I bring this all up because it is January 6th, and it is time to certify the vote, which, of course, as you know, is going to make the left go absolutely apoplectic. Will they contest? Will they move not to certify? Will Jamie Raskin, the congressman from Maryland, who in 2016 didn't want to certify Trump's election, will he move to do this again? We're gonna watch, we're gonna share, and we're also taking a look at what took place. Well, just over the weekend, when we saw that it was going to happen, they're actually going to vote for a speaker. And I was impressed that they got it done.
So, sir, if you're ready to assume this awesome responsibility, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, that you take this obligation without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you're about to enter, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations, Mr. Speaker.
Ain't it beautiful? It was fascinating how the vote for Speaker went down. So when the vote happened, Speaker Mike Johnson had 216 votes, 216. You needed 218. You needed 218. He had 216. You had Thomas Massey from Kentucky, who wouldn't vote for him. You had Norman out of South Carolina, wouldn't vote for him, and Keith Self out of Texas. Lots of people know Massey, less people know Norman. I think very few people would know Self unless you were a Texan yourself. I just think in terms of popularity nationwide. I was not looking at Norman and Self as possible no votes on Johnson. It's not that I was surprised. I was just like, oh, okay, this is who it's going to be. I wasn't sure about Chip Roy. I wasn't sure about Victoria Sparks out of Indiana. Chip Roy's out of Texas. This is more where I saw the possibility. There are no votes. 216. What happens next, I'm curious if they knew this was going to be the case. Because what happens next is they don't close the vote. That's kind of interesting. Maybe this happens all the time. It was interesting to me. The vote is still open. Everybody voted, right? They do the roll call. They went back and called on the people who didn't answer prior, and the vote's still open. Johnson had already left the chamber. People were in conversations with Norman and Self, and then allegedly there was a call from Trump. What got said, what got promised, what got delivered, I don't have the answer. The next thing you know, you see Speaker Johnson back in the chamber, and he's like, Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, come here. He's patting him on the shoulder, like he's like, I don't know, Mr. Cool Guy. It's a little awkward saying it from Mike Johnson, and he says some things to him, and he's smiling, and Hakeem Jeffries is smiling. He's like, all right, I'll catch you later. I think he gave him one of those right there. I'm not sure. I think that's what happened. And then next thing you know, Norman of South Carolina and South Texas walked down to the clerk right there in the, where you often see the president speaking, delivering the State of the Union. And the clerk calls their names again, and they change their vote to Johnson. 218 votes. It's over. It's done. He's sworn in. He's the speaker. I don't know what got promised. I don't know what got offered. All I know is it was something. It had to be. Because these two weren't no votes at the first just to do it. They were no votes to try and obtain a result. The result could be seen as maybe look at what Trump's influence can do, but Trump had already said he backed Johnson, so he needed more influence. It could be seen as, hey, we won't be pushed around by Trump, and we needed even more than just some personal guarantees from Mike Johnson. Whatever the case was, the Republicans avoided what could have been an ugly, ugly, ugly disaster. Just horrific. It could have been embarrassing. It could have been a problem. It could have gone on and on and on. It could have been days. It could have been weeks. This is better. Now we get into the certification. The vice president will be there. She has to preside. That's her job. We'll see if any of these Democrats decide not to certify. We'll see if they go down that road. And if they do, we will laugh and we will drink. I have picked my official drinking whiskey for if they don't certify or challenge it certified, because it will get certified. The High and Wicked, the Wild Rover. It's actually an Irish whiskey, but it tastes nothing like Irish whiskey. It's there. I've ranked this very highly on my cigar and bourbon show, Eat, Drink, Smoke, eatdrinksmokeshow.com. It's in my top 3 of the year, and you should go listen to that and see which one, which ranking it got. So I'm ready. I am all sorts of ready. Maybe you are too. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Good to be with you. So a couple of things. First of all, if I'm going to do this video stuff, I'm going to get a haircut every week, right? I just don't want it. I just don't. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's on my head. I cold, a slight cold, and it was getting better. And today it's not so enjoyable. So if I sound a little odd, that's what's happening. There's a lot going on. Trudeau has resigned, but no, like I thought he was giving himself wiggle room. I thought Trudeau was giving himself some wiggle room, to kind of stick around. And then there is word that Hegseth has the votes, which we said what was coming. So there's a lot to get to. I'm going to try and share everything I possibly can with you. So stick with me, and we'll get that going. All right, I'll share from here. No problem. Justin Trudeau is resigning, kind of.
My friends, as you all know, I'm a fighter. Every bone has always told me to fight because I care deeply about Canadians. I care deeply about this country, and I will always be motivated by what is in the best interest of Canadians.
Especially when I can go to a Taylor Swift concert instead of dealing with riots. That's when I care the most. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669 on the Twittix at Tony Katz, TonyKatz. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom stepping down, except not. I want you to hear his full statement, and then we'll get into what it means.
And the fact is, despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th. Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
When he says till the party picks its next leader, and this is where a bit of the confusion comes in, is his argument that somehow the party will pick somebody and they'll be the prime minister just like that without the election? Right now, Parliament is suspended until March 24th. The Liberal Party is going to choose a new leader. So I do understand it correctly that somebody else will be prime minister until the election, which I believe is in October. And the name you want to pay attention to there in Canada is Poilievre, which is, if you see the name, Poilievre, Pierre Poilievre. The guy is fantastic. You hear him talk, you hear him engage. It is terrific. You're like, oh, this is what you'd want to see in leadership. This could be very, very good for Canada. Canada moved down a very progressive leftist road with Justin Trudeau. You saw what they did, of course, to the truckers and those strikes. You saw what they did regarding lockdowns. You saw where they were with conversations regarding free speech, the failed economic policy, so much so that their economic minister resigned before giving the key economic speech of the fall. And there was nowhere for Justin Trudeau to go but out. So the election will still take place in October. The Labour Party there, or the leftist party there, will still have some control. But Canadians have had enough, which creates another story. I'm Tony Katz. So that other story, we'll get into it. I'll try and get into it. I was looking for something there. It's not there. Is about what we're seeing worldwide in this political leadership, where the move is going more and more to the political left. What we're seeing is more and more movement, to the political right, away from the political left. are seeing these people who are globalist, one world this, woke that, saying, wait, we have a nation and we need our nation to stand up for itself. And we have a border and we have an identity, and these things are good and valuable and decent. We have friendships and relationships and connections. But it's when the people of Germany look at what's her name? Well, Helmut Kohl, the current chancellor, and Angela Merkel, the prior one, say this immigration thing you did was absolutely terrible. What the bloody heck is wrong with you? You didn't know that this was trash? Trash, pure garbage. How dare you do this to us? And you're seeing pushback to this when you see the election of Milei in Argentina. It is the idea of we've had enough of what you've told us has to be. We don't believe you at all. And Milei said, I can bring down inflation. And they did. Inflation in Argentina, we're talking about 23 to 25%. Who survives that? No one. There is nothing you can create. They brought it down to what, 5-6%? Still very high to our standard. To what they were doing, it's exceptional. Exceptional. So there's this interesting move. Now, my concern, of course, is that move gets you into populism and not conservatism. I'm not a populist, but that's another conversation for another day. That's what that is. Let me see. Okay, I've got it right here. Bring that up. Don't mean to get too close up into your face. The story about John Thune is pretty great. Producer Landon, how much time do we have? Phantasmal. I love having a minute and a half. I met my first wife having a minute and a half. I don't know what that meant. Not at all. But just getting some of the show together for you. And they have not yet started the certification process. So I've got my eye on what's going on there. Let me see. Share that. You're right. I've got it set for C-SPAN.
We can dig in a little bit farther. I actually wanted to show.
I don't know who that guy is, or she is. I thought they were going to start, but they don't start according to this until. You see, look at that. I got my mouse right there. Till 1 p.m. So, we'll wait. We will wait. Maybe we'll keep live streaming. Usually I just do the hour, but I'll keep it going. Make sure you give a follow over there on Twitter at Tony Katz, Instagram, Tony Katz, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. And don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to leave a comment. And to the non-binary patriot. What's up, boo? How you doing? I don't know what that means. The non-binary. I like it. All right, we're coming back. So there it is. Hegseth has the votes. Ed Morrissey reporting there. John Thune wants to be able to get things off on the right foot and is informing President Trump and others that he has the votes to confirm Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. Tony Katz today, 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. That's how you get to be part of the show. We knew this was coming. As a matter of fact, I can't imagine that any of us were actually surprised. The amount of screaming, yelling, caterwauling, kvetching, I don't know. I don't know what the words are you'd use from the political left are all meaningless. Those things are meaningless. What is not meaningless is how senators feel. And the first part of understanding this conversation is recognizing that a sitting senator doesn't care about MAGA screaming at all. They don't care what happens in social media. They do not care what gets said on a podcast. They don't. They're a senator, and they'll be there for 6 years. And saying, I want to sit and talk to the nominee and hear them testify before I vote on them isn't an absurd request. Well, these are Donald Trump's nominees, and you have to approve them. You're not getting disagreements when the statement comes out that Democrats always say yes to all the nominees, no matter what. It is the rarest conversation, the rarest moment when somehow a nominee doesn't get to go forward. And there are some radical doozies from Joe Biden. And I'm not just talking about Merrick Garland. The vast majority of nominees are going to get confirmed. But two things are real. Number one, no, not every nominee should be confirmed. And number two, or did I say A? A and B, 1 and 2? 2 or B, or 2B. A senator wants to do their job. They want to go back and tell their constituents how they did their job. And they want to look in a mirror while they rehearse their questions regarding the job that they're going to do. And then they want to write a book reflecting on all the job that they did. They're senators. This is as close as the vast majority of them are going to get to the White House. And they all want to be president. They all want to be president. What are we pretending that that's not true? Every single one of them wants this, desires this, dreams about it. And they're not going to get there. They know they're not going to get there. I know they're not going to get there. Everybody understands it. So when they have to do their job, it's more than just perfunctory for them. It is about performing these ceremonial tasks that prove their importance. And you say to me, oh, dear Lord, Tony, that's ridiculous. And I'll say to you, yeah, but it is. So can I ask what conversation we're having? Save your fire. Do not get involved in a fight that does you no good. You could scream at a senator from now until the end of time. They don't care. You know what they care about? They care about the idea that they get to say, well, we had a hearing and I listened to what it is that the candidate had to say, and I found that they were a fine, upstanding person, and I gave President Trump my personal okay. And then they go back to their home or their apartment or wherever it is, and they sit alone and they scream out to themselves,
yes, 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 oh, 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 God, oh.
Any questions? No? Yes? None? Some? There was no doubt that Hegseth was in because there was no reason for Hegseth to be out. This was nonsense from leftists. Tammy Duckworth, the senator, is allowed to have any conversation about the military she wants. You lose your legs on a battlefield serving our country. You get to say anything you wish. Anything. Doesn't make you right, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to follow it. It means that you have absolutely earned the right to make any statement you wish. But when the statement you make is he's not qualified because he hasn't led at this level, he's only led at that level. Well, we've met the people who've led at the top level, and those people are wanting. Maybe the problem is they did all the political things and jumped through all the political hoops to get to the top level, that we see them now and they're totally disconnected from what is necessary. Maybe you need a guy who's kind of fresh, who's kind of connected on the lower level, who's kind of ready to just walk through the wall, run through the wall, break things. You don't need polish. Maybe polish is everything you don't want. What you need is someone who recognizes that our military has drifted far from its task, from its purpose, from its mindset, from its focus. Now, this will tie into another conversation. And it's about where the left is on terrorism as we take a look at what took place in New Orleans. And then there's the whole conversation about what took place in Las Vegas, which is a super weird story. Getting stranger and stranger by the second. But the people screaming that Hegseth isn't qualified are the people who believe that there's only a certain group of people who are qualified. And the qualified people are the people who align with them politically. Since that is the case, we don't have to pay attention to anything they discuss regarding qualifications, because their decision-making process on qualifications is completely inconsequential. Does it matter what they think? But if there was a Republican who told me, well, I met with him and I decided that he was unqualified, that would be laughable. It would be laughable if there were Republicans who said Pete Hegseth isn't qualified. But that they want to actually go through the process, that is about ego. That is about being a senator and wanting to engage this duty and being able to go back to your constituents and say, well, I asked some serious questions. And you know that Pete Hegseth, he really made a very strong argument. And I feel that I was able to give President Trump my green light and help save this country. Vote for me. Like that's the everything there. But again, let me be clear that just because they're a Trump nominee doesn't mean they get the vote. Chavez DeRemer, the congresswoman from Oregon, one-term congresswoman, for labor secretary, nope, cannot be approved. As a matter of fact, the pressure should be overwhelming to get Trump to pull back from that nomination. What an outrageous mistake. She favors the PRO Act. This is beyond being pro-union. This is about being abusive of people who want to just go out and get a job. You have to belong to a union. You have to pay this. You have to do that. Dear Lord, do you have any privacy in who you vote for? It is radical in its presentation. It is radical in its implementation. I am convinced that the choice of DeRemer, Lori Chavez DeRemer, is an ode to the Teamsters, right? It's a little bit of a hey, I appreciate your help in the election. I'll put this person up. I don't know, maybe she'll squeak through, maybe. Yeah, you don't know. Maybe. Right? I can at least understand it politically, although the idea of nominating her is radical. Absolutely and wholly radical. She cannot be confirmed. I'm looking forward to the confirmation hearing of Tulsi Gabbard. Now, one of the things that's interesting in this piece that's from Ed Morrissey over at Hot Air was the idea that the selection of Hegseth might kind of grease the wheels for everybody else. That you might see that this leads to, and it might have been this article, it might have been another one, that it leads to the idea that it's just going to be easier to get other people confirmed. It shouldn't be the case. Chavez DeRemer has to be a no vote. I think that when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard, hard questions need to be answered about Syria, about Russia, about a host of things. I'm not saying, by the way, she's not an operative and she's not a spy. That is disgusting stuff. Disgusting, gross, horrible stuff. And that she was put on some kind of watch list on airplanes. Former congressman, she ran for president. She's on a watch list. That is such political garbage that I look forward to seeing her rip asunder a large part of this intelligence apparatus that isn't based on doing intelligence work. They're based on doing narrative work. But I still have questions. I'm a no on Robert Kennedy Jr. You can't convince me that he isn't a radical progressive in every bone in his body. Can't convince me. His wife from Curb Your Enthusiasm, Cheryl Hines, may love the attention. That doesn't matter to me. That he's talking about certain food additives. I love that. He can do that from not in a cabinet position. No, I don't trust him at all. I don't trust him at all. Oh, you can tell me I can be proven wrong. Anybody can be proven wrong. Don't be silly. But you don't just vote for these picks just because what Trump said. That's not how it works. I don't care what his staff wants. I don't care what others in his orbit wants. I'm just talking honestly here. But Hegseth was always in. And I'm glad to see it. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. To answer the question from Larry, this is this. If they question the certifying of the vote, it's the Wild Rover from or is it the Wild Rover the brand and it's High and Wicked? No, High and Wicked is the brand. It's the Wild Rover. So this is an Irish whiskey. And it's an Irish whiskey that is finished off in sherry. So these sherry casks. So Irish whiskey does like no other whiskey has the rules that bourbon does. Remember, all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbons. Bourbon has very unique, specific rules about how to make a bourbon. 51% corn, first use charred oak barrel, and so when it's a barrel is done for bourbon, it can't be used for anything else. So that's where Irish whiskey and Scotch and Japanese whiskey, they all come into play. Again, the cold. I'm sorry. So you can use those barrels. So this Irish whiskey gets put into those barrels, and then it is finished in sherry. And I don't know why lately that has kind of hit me. Like there was a one of my picks on Eat Drink Smoke, eatdrinksmokeshow.com, was finished in Oloroso sherry. This one, it actually mentions that, and I can't. I'm gonna put on my glasses. Don't be a jerk. They're just glasses. Don't. Every other part of me works fine. You be quiet. Finished in Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. Thank you. It's Irish whiskey has never been my thing. It comes across as bitter to me, unfinished. This is different than Scotch and that level of peat and moss and that kind of flavor. And as you get into the island, the lowlands, that becomes more pronounced. Irish whiskey always came off bitter and unfinished. I'm usually not a sweet guy. I do like caramels, but I like oaks. I like those flavors. I like rye spice. This is nuts good, incredibly good. And it was in my top 3 for bourbons of the year, even though it's an Irish whiskey, on eatdrinksmokeshow.com. So yes, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I can. I don't want to screw up the. I'll just put it right there. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's get back to the show. Now, if you live near where I live, or you live anywhere in the Midwest, chances are you just got the crap kicked out of you by snow. Just obliterated. It was in parts around me, 8-9 inches, someplace just 6 inches, and then we had a little more snow on top of that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's still going for a lot of people, depending on where you are. It was a bunch. I'll tell you the thing about this storm that has me curious. Tony Katz today, is that it didn't affect New York or DC, and people are still talking about it. I Midwest guy. I wasn't born here, wasn't raised here, but I like being here. The Midwest has an understanding that I appreciate in a way that I didn't know was true about me. But when I first started meeting people in the Midwest, I'm like, these people are smarter. And I know people on the East Coast be like, how dare you? They have a viewpoint based on geography that I think that I find outrageously appealing. How about that? Is that nicer? A nice way to say it? Well, what happens is that when a storm hits DC or New York, it's all they talk about on those morning shows. All they talk about on the cable news outlets. Oh my gosh, look at what's hitting Los Angeles. Huge. We get all sorts of things in the Midwest. No one ever brings up nothing. Never gets discussed. No one ever engages. And maybe because this thing will hit DC eventually, if it hasn't already today, that's why they're bringing it up, and it has to do with January 6th and certification. But they at least are honest about the fact that it's been a crap ton of snow. And so where I'm at is Indiana. We got the snow. You go down to Kentucky, they got the ice. And that stuff is bad because you're talking about power lines. You're talking about all sorts of things that just get ripped apart, get broken, get destroyed. The problems that can come from that. So this was a good size. This was a good size. Is it the kind of thing that makes you say, my gosh, climate change is real? No. We've been through this before. When I first moved to Indianapolis, that winter, the winter before I got there was brutal. People still talk about it. Huge amounts of snow. Crazy for days at a time. So no. This is not a, oh my gosh, climate change is real. I mean, Al Gore can scream all he wants, but it means nothing. less than nothing. I'm just happy to hear people talking about it. I do hope everybody is okay. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a cold snap for a while, and I certainly want people to take care of themselves, be safe, be healthy, all those things. Check on a neighbor. Check on a neighbor. They'll kill you. I'm always saying that. Like, usually you don't even talk to your neighbor. I think for this, you should check on your neighbor. We will get into some certification of a vote. Let's see what Congress does. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So here's what we're going to do, guys. I'm going to keep it going if that's all right. I hope you don't mind. Invite your friends. We will take the break. And Kim, good afternoon to you. I don't know what you're drinking there, but I hope it is delightful. And we'll be back and we'll do more from there. Guys, keep it right here. I got to tell you, I had no idea the graphic would stop. I apologize for that. What's going on, everybody? Tony Katz, good to be with you. We are going to get into the confirmation joint session. Sorry about that. I really should say certification. The certifying of the vote. That is what's coming. I want to see where everybody is. It's supposed to begin right now. I don't know. Are they running late? I thought it was going to begin at 12. I thought this was an event that began at noon. So I guess I could have had it wrong. Everything's possible. Oh, there they all are. Let me see. Share this tab instead. Should we see what it looks like? Look at that. Oh, there's Ted Cruz. He looks like the kind of guy who will show you a good time. John Thune right there. You got House members. You got Senate members. Oh, there's Senator Todd Young right there. He's rocking the beard. Look at that. If only he'd rock some better votes. Nice dude is Senator Todd Young. I think smart dude. I think he's good on foreign policy. Oh, look, there's Adam Schiff. There's Adam Schiff right there at the like right around here. Right around here. You can see his pencil neck from there. I was gonna see there's Todd Young. I don't know what's going on here. He's got the whole slick thing going, the beard. I'm not sure what's happening. I must admit, there's Senator Barrasso. There's James Langford right there. You can tell by his desperately nondescript haircut. Basically, this should be the show. Just me, John Thune over here, who is now the Republican leader. There's new Senator Jim Banks right there as well. Always been good to us. Greatly appreciate that. So if they're gonna actually do this, and they're going to confirm, I want to bring it to you. I want to bring you every bit of it. So we're going to see that. My hope is to be able that they'll get started as Comer walks into view right there. That I can bring this to you and share it. The question is, okay, so up on top, you see you've got the Speaker, Mike Johnson, and the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. And she's very, very happy to be there. I don't know. Maybe she had a drink. What? Don't laugh at me, Producer Landon. I'm just saying that there's Dave McCormick. It's Dave McCormick, right, along with Lindsey Graham, the new senator from Pennsylvania. I don't know. Who is that? That's not John Kennedy. No, it's not. That's some blonde lady shaking his hand. I just can't tell who that is right there. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's okay. Let's play the game. Red or white? Chuck Grassley there, the Senate Pro Tem, along with Susan Collins. Byron Donalds, Congressman, letting some people walk through. It's like, who's this lady next to me? Why won't you get out of my way? Everybody's getting ready. I can't imagine that Democrats want the hijinks. We're coming back to the radio show, so I will discuss this then. Stay right here. Like that, right? Or do you want this? Nah. I'll do this. Do this for now. Oh, look at J.D. Vance. You got senators, you got members of Congress, and you've got the certifying of the vote happening in this joint session. J.D. Vance is going to have the pleasure of watching Kamala Harris certify that he will be the next vice president of the United States. That's just, I don't know. Gotta feel good. Gotta feel good being vice president. Set up. Is anybody better set up to run in 2028 than him? although it's a lifetime away, and Lord only knows what's going to happen. Tony Katz, what's going on, everybody? Tony Katz today. 833-468-8669, 833. Got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. I am only curious to see whether or not people like Jamie Raskin are kind of like men of their word. Oh, when they say we're not going to certify this. Oh, wait a second. Is that Kamala Harris speaking? Oh, she's banging the gavel, guys. This is very exciting.
Mr. Speaker and members of Congress, pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Senate and House of Representatives are meeting in joint session to verify the certificates and count the votes of the electors of the several states for President and Vice President of the United States. After ascertainment has been had that the certificates are authentic and correct in form, the tellers will count and make a list of the votes cast by the electors of the several states. The tellers on the part of the two houses will take their places at the clerk's desk.
All right, so everybody has it. Places, please. Places. Get it together. Look, I'm not expecting mayhem. I don't think anybody wants it. And that's the point I was trying to make earlier. That Jamie Raskin, Congressman Raskin, terrible guy, and a bunch of others have all claimed they wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. They're not going to challenge Trump on this. Of course he lies, and he shouldn't be president, blah, 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 blah. I don't think they want the fight. I don't think they want the problem. They lost. And if they are smart, just let this day go by. Look, we can have the peaceful transfer of power, and we don't start riots and insurrections, right? You make all that claim. Nobody cares. And then you can get on to just being obstructionist jerk faces, and be good with it.
And authentic,
so I think that is the way to go.
By the electors.
But if I've learned anything from this Democratic Party, if I've learned anything at all,
Senator Fisher,
it's that these people can't control themselves. Now, part of this is because all politics are local. The other part of this is a conversation of branding.
Vote of the state of
now, in the branding conversation, how do you appeal to
that Donald J. Trump
a part of your base that you then need to profit
J.D.
off?
Vance of the state of Ohio.
Well, you have to give them what they want.
For vice president.
And they hate Trump more than anything. So therefore, they have to now go down this road. That would be the only reason, is that they gain something from it on a personal level.
And it appears
let's go to as they do this right now, Alaska.
For president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 3 votes for vice president.
Then they started with Alabama, and they just went to Alaska. And there's Kamala Harris right there.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Arizona seems to be regular in form and authentic, and it appears therefrom that Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida received 11 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 11 votes for vice president.
Okay, can I discuss a level of weirdness here? That was Amy Klobuchar, the senator from Minnesota, a progressive. Why is she reading the results of Arizona that go for Trump?
Vote of the state of Arkansas seems
was somebody angry with her?
And authentic, and it appears
that is just
that Donald
cruel.
J. Trump of the state of Florida received
that
6 votes
is
for president,
cruel
and J.D. Vance
and
of the state of
unusual
Ohio received 6 votes
and all
for vice
sorts
president.
of unnecessary. So far, and we could have picked it. It's going fine. One state after another after another. Let's see who's next.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of California seems to be regular in form and authentic, and it appears therefrom that Kamala D. Harris of the state of California received 54 votes for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 54 votes for vice president.
I got to admit, it's got to be weird. She's just standing there.
Of the state of Colorado.
She is standing there, and she's got to hear it. Now, she's standing. Speaker Johnson is sitting.
For president. And Tim Walz,
I don't know if there's a reason for that. I don't know if she has to stand or not. She's chosen to. She's got the ceremonial task, so she stands, and Speaker Johnson just has the front row seat. So he sits.
Certificate of the electoral vote of the state.
Okay, now I get what's going on.
Seems to be regular in form and authentic, and it appears therefrom that Kamala D. Harris of the state of California received 7 votes for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 7 votes for vice president.
So it's the same people reading these things over and over, and Amy Klobuchar is one of these people reading it over and over. Now I understand why she's there.
Madam President,
if I could, just because sometimes sentimental isn't the worst thing in the world.
The Kamala D. Harris of the state of California
the way
received
we
3
do it
votes
is
for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 3 votes for vice president.
She ran for president and she lost. And everything that was done to try and derail
the certificate of the electoral vote of the District of Columbia.
We just read this off and we move about our day. That's the way it should be.
Authentic, and it appears
sometimes you lose.
The Kamala D. Harris
and
of
you
the
can
state
lose
of California
without anybody firing a bullet.
For president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 3 votes for vice president.
As she sits there, or stands there, having lost. Exactly how ugly this election was and how absolutely obscene these people acted.
And authentic. And it appears therefrom that Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida received 30 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 30 votes for vice president.
These indictment and stacking them has to have maximum effect to try and dissuade the public from voting for Donald Trump.
And it
An
appears
assassination attempt, a second one where only luckily the shot wasn't fired.
J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 16 votes for vice
coup
president.
Amongst the Democrats to remove Joe Biden and put in Kamala Harris. But they kind of got forced into Kamala Harris because there was Biden endorsing her and not necessarily what Obama and Pelosi wanted, but they didn't have the power that they thought they had. So to an extent, a failed coup.
Received 4 votes for vice president.
And it's a coup when you tell 14.5 million people who voted for Biden, your vote does not count, and Democrats don't get a choice in who they vote for.
The certificate of the
electoral
vote of the state of Idaho seems to be regular in form and authentic.
Marvel.
And it appears therefrom that
and say so joyfully. This is
received 4 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 4 votes for vice president.
The country is unbelievable. That the system works. I mean, revel in it, marvel at it. Like, this is fantastic.
The electoral vote of the state of Illinois seems to be regular.
For all the people who want to scream that Trump tried to do this and Trump tried to do that.
Of the state of California.
Can we take a look at what the progressive left did? And if you want to compare them,
received 19
go
votes
ahead.
for vice president.
Trump held a rally that peacefully protest. People walked into the Capitol. Many of them were invited. Now, even regarding January 6th, don't like how Trump acted after the fact. I think things should have been moving much, much faster. If you say to me, listen, it was Nancy Pelosi's job, I'm not arguing that beforehand. I'm saying when you're the president of the United States, you can make things move. And that's what I would have liked to see.
11 votes for vice
leave that over here for now. We want to talk about trying to organize against the country. There's Kamala Harris.
Certificate of the electoral vote.
Her and her team and her people and her party did that.
Trump of the state of Florida.
They did maneuver
and J.D. Vance of the state of
to
Ohio
try and not only just manipulate their own party, if you will. Look at how they bent over backwards to try and change the rules.
Madam President.
But they tried to manipulate the voter and the vote by engaging in these indictments.
Regular, informed, and authentic.
Of course, it's all political, purposefully political. Of course, it was election interference. Are we somehow children who don't know that this was the case? And they stand there, and then they're going to lecture to us. This is how things are done in a democracy.
Obscene. Madam President,
Gene, let me answer your question. Gene asked me a question. Why are they referring to Kamala Harris as president rather than vice president? She's the president of the Senate. We're talking about her ceremonial job. The vice president serves as president of the Senate. So in this situation where you have a joint session of Congress and the vice president is presiding, he's referred to as president, or he would be referred to as president because of being president of the Senate.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Louisiana
is not lost on me.
Seems to be regular, informed, and authentic.
Not
and
lost on me at all.
That
what we're watching here,
the state of Florida received 8 votes for president, and J.D. Vance
miraculous.
of the state of Ohio received 8 votes for vice president.
It is a miraculous nation. This place is good. Something to work on over here, something to work on over there, something to work on in this place and that place. Sure.
The state of Maine seems to be regular, informed, and
it's like your filing system. There's always a way it can be a little bit better.
So the state of California
but it's good.
3 votes for president, and Donald J.
And
Trump
the people who want to lecture to us,
received 1 vote for president.
The people who are going to say, "Look at Kamala Harris doing the right thing,"
and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received.
She's doing the right thing after she lost because we did the right thing. Because everything her and her party tried to do was the wrong thing.
Madam President.
I don't want that forgotten.
The electoral vote of the
that
state
this
of
is
Maryland
the system that we want.
To be regular, informed, and authentic. And it appears therefrom that Kamala D. Harris of the state of California received 10 votes for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 10 votes for vice president.
It doesn't matter. When the votes are all cast.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts seems to be regular, informed, and authentic. And it appears
very cool day.
That Kamala D. Harris
Thank goodness we did the right things to make it
votes for president.
I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz today.
Received 11 votes for vice president.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Michigan seems to
You'll forgive me, guys. I'm responding to an absolute fool here. Facts and not lies. That's this guy right here. Tony gives his listeners what they want: self-righteous grievance, anger, us versus them, superiority, and also a look at how hot I am. I used to listen to him. He's a partisan entertainer in what has been a growth industry. He's a marketer. He's smart, but he doesn't believe half of what he says. He's neither serious nor fair. It's an act. He's in it to make a buck. Truth and country be damned. He's a dime a dozen. Don't waste your time. Mike, I responded, I believe everything I say. I can defend everything I say. And you can disagree with it all you want. You know, it's fine by me. But the idea that I'm dime a dozen. Let me show you my dime a dozen right here. I'll share this with you. Do I get to toot my own horn? I'm happy. I'm happy to. I mean, I'm not usually that guy, but I'll do it right here. This came out today from the people at Barrett Media. They did a bit of polling of people in the radio industry, and they ranked the number one morning shows of major markets and mid-major markets. And in Indianapolis, I'm considered a mid-major market. That's me. I don't know what's with my hair there, but if you want to tell me I'm a dime a dozen, I'm also the top dime. So that happened. What can you do? People hate. Move on. Let's get back to the show.
Received 14 votes for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 14 votes for vice president.
And they continue the counting.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of New Mexico seems to be regular in form and authentic. And it appears therefrom
they are on the ends right there. If they continue to count the votes, certifying the presidential election. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com, TonyKatz, TonyKatz.com. There are a couple things that I want to dig into. And one of them was this, the left on terrorism. And it was this, I thought I had the audio. It was this piece from Lawrence O'Donnell over at MSNBC. And it was this argument that's being made that when we take a look at terrorism, it is clear that more terrorists in America, more people have died because of white men than have died because of Muslim terrorism. It's a very weird statement, because it would seem that what they're doing is saying that we should be focused on one and not the other. And I would argue that we should be focused on terrorism. We should be focused on extremism. We should be focused on what it is that radicalizes people. When we take a look at this murderer in New Orleans, it is very clear he was radicalized by ISIS. Why in the world would I talk about white men when I should be talking about Muslim men who radicalized this Muslim man with an ISIS flag in the back of his truck as he murdered 14 people by running them over in a town he had been to twice to get a lay of the land, and then tried to engage in other explosives? The issue here is the radicalization by Islamists. In the case of Las Vegas and the Cybertruck, which I'll get more into, that's not terrorism, but this is a guy who was upset with America not paying attention to what's going on. There's an issue with China and drones, and he sent out an email, and he wanted to make a show of this, and that way people would listen. So you go to the Trump hotel in a cyber truck and you shoot yourself, and then the truck explodes, but doesn't really explode. And the video doesn't necessarily show that you shot yourself. The whole thing is so damn weird as to be believed. No, what MSNBC wants to do is say, you take a look at this act of terrorism there in New Orleans, but don't forget, Timothy McVeigh killed more people. The Vegas guy is a whole different thing that I'll get into. But I watched MSNBC compare, to, say, you're paying attention to New Orleans. Remember that it's all about white men because look at Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bombing. Do you somehow think that we're excusing it? If in these cases people are being radicalized and propagandized and it's leading them to violence, that is our issue all the way across the board. Why is that happening? Why is there this propagandizing that's working on Americans? And what got noted is very often a lot of these people, they served in the military. We turn them into killers and then they don't know what else to do. Well, I think we could be rational people and have an argument of maybe we do need to be more proactive and as people come out of the military, how to make sure we're getting people back to understanding a civilian life and helping people. You're not going to get an argument. But that subject somehow takes away from the fact that the guy in New Orleans is an Islamist and that Islamists are incompatible with not only Western civilization, but humanity as a whole. Anybody who is supportive of and a purveyor of radical Islam is opposed to humanity as a whole. Period. And that's a lot of people. Too many people. Too much of a danger. And one that we need to be aware of. I don't know if I can pick out every American who wants to do something wrong. I do not know if we can make changes to that, fix that in every corner, but they don't all belong to one group or one ideology. They are propagandized and radicalized by a myriad of things. And that is worthy of discussion. Maybe it's worth discussing how we shouldn't, I don't know, hate the country and everybody who's in it. We shouldn't be trying to divide people in the country based on skin color or based on socioeconomics or anything else. One nation under God, indivisible, should actually mean something. But we're not going to notice that Islamists around the globe want to destroy, whether it's Americans or whether it's Christians or whether it's Jews or whether it's other Muslims. What kind of person doesn't notice this and says, yeah, but white people? The MSNBC folk. Again, losing audience. You wonder why. I'm Tony Katz. Welcome back, guys. Man, this cold is knocking me stupid. It's just a little hard to breathe. How are they doing on the certification right now? They're still going with that? Let me see. Let me see if I can bring that back to you right there.
Votes for vice president.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Wyoming seems to be regular in form and authentic. And it appears
both regular in form and
Trump
authentic.
of the state of
Which
Florida
is very often how I describe myself on Tinder.
And J.D. Vance of the state of
I've
Ohio
never been on
three
Tinder.
votes for vice
You've been on
president.
Tinder, producer? Tinder? Are you really considering it? Wow.
Members of
Desperate
Congress,
times,
the
desperate
certificates
measures. I
having
get
been
it.
read,
I know.
the
I
tellers will
have never done
ascertain and
any
deliver the
online
result
dating at all.
to the President of the Senate.
Ooh.
The undersigned, Deb Fisher and Amy Klobuchar, tellers on the part of the Senate, and Brian Steele and Joseph Morelli, tellers on the part of the House of Representatives, report the following as the result of the ascertainment and counting of the electoral vote for President and Vice President of the United States for the term beginning on the 20th day of January, 2025.
The state of the vote for the President of the United States as delivered to the President of the Senate is as follows. The whole number of the electors appointed to vote for President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, the majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris
This is brutal. Kamala Harris announcing that Donald Trump has 312 electoral votes as they count the vote in D.C.
Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
Oh, the Democrats are giving her the cheer. Oh, that's nice. That is hard. I don't care. That's tough to do.
The whole number of electors appointed to vote for Vice President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, a majority is 270. The votes for Vice President of the United States are as follows. J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio has received 312 votes.
And J.D. Vance is in the room. I mean, that's got to be a cool feeling. Tony Katz today. This is January 6th. They're certifying the electoral vote.
Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota has received 226 votes.
I can't believe people thought Tim Walz was somehow a good pick. Crazy time.
This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected, President and Vice President of the United States, each for a term beginning on the 20th day of January 2025, and shall be entered together with the list of the votes on the journals of the House and the Senate. Thank you very much.
And just like that. And just like that. All said, all done, all finished, all good. And there's Mike Johnson shaking hands with Vice President Harris. Okay, bye-bye. You can go now. Okay. All right. Back to the drinky drink. What? No?
Of the Joint Senate
I'm not saying that she did or
Senate
didn't.
Concurrent Resolution number 2, the 119th Congress, the chair declares this joint session dissolved. Thank you.
All right. Nobody got weird. Nobody did a challenge. This was pure politics. They didn't want it. They needed to show themselves as the people who can see we're serious about democracy or something or something like that. That is absolutely what they were going for right there. There were a couple other things I wanted to get to today regarding January 6th. In that the people who are just super desperate to make you think that it was the worst thing in the world. They don't stop trying to make you think it was the worst thing in the world. This was The View and Sunny Hostin.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget because past becomes prologue if you forget any race.
Okay. My God, is she not bright? That is outrageous in its state.
Like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery. We need to never.
Can we please? Can we please? If we're going to discuss atrocities, you would discuss the Holocaust. If we're going to discuss atrocities, you discuss slavery. Atrocities, if you want to stick to that, Tulsa Race Massacre. January 6th doesn't come close, Sunny Hostin, and you are a ridiculous child. You don't even know your argument, and you made the Holocaust part of American history. World War II is part of American history. But you couldn't think of an atrocity, and you set up this conversation. You child. You absolute ridiculous child. I'm amazed that the show is still on the air. And I really tried to keep myself from it, but you see things like this. A comment that I got as we're doing the live stream. Islamist extremism, LOL, what is this, 2001? The lack of understanding and the purposeful lack of understanding is overwhelming. If we go back to the debate between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney in 2012, and it was the Candy Crowley debate, and Crowley is helping Obama by pushing back on Romney, and Crowley was wrong about everything, and Romney wasn't strong enough to fight. One of the things that happened in that debate is that Mitt Romney discussed that the biggest geopolitical threat that we had was Russia, to which Barack Obama said the 1980s called and they want their foreign policy back. But Romney was correct. And Obama, as he was on many things in foreign policy, was wrong. But then again, his foreign policy was predicated on the idea that we need to diminish American power, strength, and might. Of course, we should be talking about Islamic extremism and Islamists. Of course we should. Without question, we should. And utilizing the statement, what is this, 2001, only proves how disconnected you are from the serious issues at play. And thank goodness you are not somebody in power. You had Sunny Hostin on The View with all the time in the world to think about ways that January 6th was an atrocity and create her metaphors. And she couldn't do it. She didn't have it. She couldn't bring it up. She couldn't make it a definition out of it. Because they don't believe what they say. It's just something that they say. And then when they are forced to back it up, they have nothing. Because January 6, 2021 was not an atrocity. It was a riot. That's what it was. And just for the sake of clarity, the same troll, did the Democrats certify the election, Tony? They did. They did. Jamie Raskin did not do what he said he was going to do in challenging the election results. They did certify the election. Do you know why this is? Because Joe Biden didn't get 81 million votes. That's why. Look, I am a guy who says you have to prove it. But are we actually going to believe that Joe Biden brought in 81 million votes? This election, everybody voted. It was the biggest election. Look at the lines here. Look at the lines there. Trump only got 77 mil. Biden got 81 million. You know how many people who never voted decided to come out of the woodworks, young people and all that jazz, and it's only 77 million? Please. And are we going to act like it's only Republicans that have ever looked at not certifying a vote when we know Democrats did this in 2016, 2017 regarding who? Donald Trump. Oh, these people, these little children. And that's where we have to start understanding, if you don't already. You're not dealing with an adult mind. You're not dealing with an adult philosophy. You're dealing with irrationality, a childlike pablum that is only predicated on feelings at the moment. I used to say back in the day, oh God, when I was first starting in radio and no one knew my name, but there was this core of people who are a part of the show and listening and love them to this day. I would discuss the fact that for the leftist, what they say today has absolutely nothing to do with what they said yesterday. And what they say tomorrow will have absolutely no bearing on what they said today. The mathematical course for the progressive is to say the thing in the moment that allows you to have the opportunity to social capital or reputation capital in the moment. It has nothing to do with reality. My father used to refer to the fact that for the left, they think that history started yesterday. They walk down the street and there's a coffee shop, a Starbucks over here, and there's a this store over there and that stuff over there. And they think that this is the natural course of things. This is the most unnatural course of things in the history of the world. This is unfreaking believable. How did it get here? How did it happen? How did it start? How was all of this put together? Here's Sunny Hostin, this genius lawyer. January 6th was an atrocity. We cannot forget this. It was an atrocity like, and she doesn't know. So like World War II. January 6th was like World War II. The boys of D-Day would like to have a word with you. Oh, wait, they can't. They're dead. Now, unless you're comparing Ashley Babbitt to them, in which case you'd at least have a better conversation and you'd still be wrong. January 6th was an atrocity like the Holocaust, Sunny Hostin. We just threw them into trains, did we? Is that what happened? There were a lot of Zyklon showers going on. Do you know how ignorantly stupid you have to be to make the statement that Sunny Hostin is making here? And the answer is, you gotta be pretty damn stupid. But she is. But they are. Because they're not engaged in a conversation of honesty where you could clearly see that January 6th was absolutely nothing like the Holocaust and wouldn't even come close to be thought of as an atrocity in that vein. That's the rational mind. That's the adult. That's the grown-up. She's not a grown-up. She's a child. And so she grasps at these things because it makes her feel good. It makes her feel like she's important because look at her emotions. Screw her emotions. That's a valueless proposition. It is very obvious that January 6th was nothing like World War II or the Holocaust or chattel slavery, as she brought it up. It's because January 6th was not a Holocaust. January 6th was not an atrocity. It was a riot. And a lot of it was dumb. And a lot of it was out of a real feel that things were done wrong. And a lot of people are being abused right now and should be out of jail. And some people broke the law and might have to be in jail. And Ashley Babbitt died for no reason. That's January 6th. Dear Lord, let's not let the children write the history book, shall we? I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, one and all. So look, I don't usually do the 2-hour stream, but I can. Maybe I will. Working a little bit of different system here for the audio we're bringing in, and I think it's working out pretty well. I still need to hire a director. Oh yeah, I absolutely have to hire a director. Undoubtedly. We'll be back to the show in just a minute. And then if you want to hear the third hour, you can go to WIBC.com and listen to the stream right there. You can find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com, TonyKatz, TonyKatz.com. If you would head over there, I'd appreciate it in every single way. Just going through a bunch of stuff. It's had a lot of junk in here. Let me see if there's something else I wanted to get to. God, I can't look. Sunny Hostin, I'm still. It's so ridiculous. So absolutely ridiculous. We'll do this right here. There we go. All right, so I got it. I got it good. I don't know if I'm the only person with this cold. It seems everybody I know, everywhere I know, has some kind of a cold going on. It's cold. Did you get tested for COVID? No, I didn't get tested for COVID. What? I have never taken a COVID test. What is it going to tell me? You have COVID? I'm going to do the same things I'm doing right now. Right? You take all the ivermectin you want. Hydroxychloroquine, whatever works, whatever your doctor says. You take, you enjoy. These people. Remind me, I got to talk about the whole drinking thing. This guy on Twitter, First Doctor. I don't know who this dude is, but he's beyond anti-alcohol. And someone said it's religious. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just a weird thing. What happened to moderation? And if we're going to talk about it's always bad for you, there are studies that show that wine is good for you. So why do we do this? Does everything have to be all or nothing? Back to the show. Antony Blinken, for the next 14 days, he is the Secretary of State. And he somehow wants you to think that a ceasefire is coming between Israel and Gaza.
What we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to make that go bad. Let me try that again. Let me see if I can do that again. Right there. I hate when I make the error.
What we've seen in the last couple of weeks is a re-intensified engagement, including by Hamas, but we have yet to see agreement on the final points. So what I can tell you is this. We very much want to bring this over the finish line in the next 2 weeks, the time that we have remaining. And we will work every minute of every day of those 2 weeks to try to get that to happen.
Yeah, you're not going to get that to happen, because you're the impediment to solving this problem. Tony Katz today. Every time you said Israel has to stop this, Israel has to stop that, Hamas moved away from a negotiation that would return the hostages. Remember, they took hostages, including Americans, over a year ago. The Biden administration has been a key factor in why they're still hostages, because they didn't understand how to negotiate with terrorists, and they didn't understand how to destroy the enemy. Blinken can want a ceasefire all he wants. It ain't coming. A destroyed Hamas, that has to come. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz today. Guys, I appreciate you like you wouldn't believe. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you hung out. I'm going to keep doing it. I don't know. I still am not what does it matter? We're having a good time. We'll keep it up. Can't thank you enough for being here. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. I hope that you'll do that, and follow me on the Twitter at Tony Katz. And whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, wherever it is, make sure you subscribe and like and do all the things. And I appreciate that. And I will, I'll be the guy who catches you next time. Don't forget Rumble. Rumble is pretty great as well. I'll catch you then. Take care.